What is up, bros? Josh here, and today's video is all about the most recent announcement from World of Warships, and this is one that caught a lot of people by surprise, but also I think a lot of people saw the writing on the walls, and that was the big announcement that submarines are coming into the game. Now, this is something that we saw back in the most recent, and I will also put this in the background, the most recent Halloween event, the quote Terror in the Deep, which was part of the announcement. They announced this on Twitter and on their Facebook dev blog, which was back in 2018. Many of they participated in the operation called Terror of the Deep, which is all this footage that you will see in the background. The event allowed everyone to try a new class in our game, Submarines, which I thought was pretty well done. It definitely wasn't finalized, but I think the reason that was really cool is because it wasn't a PvP mode, is which we'll get to in a little bit in this video. By the end of the event, it became very clear that our player base was highly interested in submarines, and we should be engaged in full development. And I think that's true, but again, this was a PvE game mode. This is something that was you versus bots. It was players versus bots, and it was kind of like a scenario operation, and it was a kind of offset of the normal game modes. It was basically an operation which you could play these, and I've always talked about how kind of submarines may be a kind of cool way to have it be an offset or maybe a boost of how wargaming could make different content than even PvP content, and maybe focus more on some more PvE content, or focus on submarine based gameplay, and kind of keep it out, because even back in the day they announced that there was we'll see them in PvP at some point. Then we went along, kind of a long drought of information, and kind of submarines are put on the back burner, and then all of a sudden they've now appeared back up. And as we get with this announcement, and now we are happy to announce that the first stages of closed testing will begin shortly, where the new gameplay will be tested. The American and German submarines will be the pioneers of the new class, and there we go. So we have a little bit of information. We're going to be German, so the U-boats as well as the US. And it's going to go, and this is something I'm very excited about, is we're going to see, hopefully, World of Warships do this in the correct order. A great example of how this was done incorrectly, or development style was done incorrectly, was how the CV rework has been done. The CV rework has been extremely slow, back and forth. It was kind of thrown in our face, and here we go. To a point, I guess they kind of had to, because the class was already in the game. But it sounds like World of Warships is going to handle this correctly. I'm optimistic about this, of starting in then a closed testing, which will hopefully begin shortly. They can start working on it. Also, we don't know if what we see in the last gameplay from the Terror of the Deep will be the finalized gameplay. There's a lot of things that was really hard for this to be translated over to PvP. But what we kind of see, the quick gist of it, was they were extremely stealthy. They could go underwater. They had a certain amount, as you can see in this little clip right here. You only have so much life, or so much life, small health pools, but only so much before you had to come back up and get more air. As you see, there's a small little air dial that's next to the kind of your elevation. So there are 4 different elevations. There was the top, basically on the top of the water. There was periscope. There was below water, and then there was deep below water. And as you see, you can take lots of damage on the top here. But still, then once that air gets refilled, you can then go back down, and obviously once you get lower into the water, your detection also drops. So you can avoid as much damage as possible, as you can avoid it right there. But still, also, after the super test, submarines will be available for players to try on a special server. So it sounds like they're going to do this in the right order. What I mean by that is they're going to do a closed test, then they will be doing probably some kind of public test. From what we see there, a special test server, and they can try that, and then before being added into the main client. So closed test, which is good, probably a super test, which is good. Then it will be available on the public test, which is good. Again, going through many different variations, more and more people getting access to it, more and more feedback coming, and then before being added into the main game client. Once introduced, the new class will be initially available in the special separate battle type only, for the final configuration stage for the last several months. So it's going to be in a separate battle type. So this is why I'm optimistic about this. Is because they're hopefully doing this in the right order. And as you can also see right here, the depth charges and whatnot is something to also get to. But it looks like they're going to take their time, and I'm interested in seeing what your guys' feedback is on this. Are you excited about submarines? Are you Like, are you hating the idea of submarines? What do you think? As something people have asked me, why are they doing? I think it's a pretty natural progression to keep making the game kind of unique. Now we're just coming off of pretty much a terrible, I would call it a terrible rework of the CVs, just because of how slow it's been, and in my opinion, it's just not. You know, that's a whole different video, but I think the addition of another class is just kind of natural for World of Warships to continue to make content, to bring life kind of into the game. They can only make so many cruisers and battleship lines and destroyer lines that are kind of the same thing, so I think it's a natural progression. It increases the life of the game, and I'm, you know, again, I'm excited to see what this ends up happening, but I'm very excited to see that they're going to do the testing through this. Also, what does that mean for timeline of submarines coming through? This could be years. It could be easily 2020, late 2020, before we see a lot of this being done. It depends on how fast they push this. There's so much else going on in the game right now, and there's still so much to freaking test. There really, really is. And then once the class will be under conditions on the live server, we will get more information on this hopefully soon, and as soon as we get any of that, I will keep you guys up to date, and I'll put links down below and all that kind of stuff. But this is definitely going to be a big topic for a while. Also, something we never saw even in the Terror of the Deep was a way to really counter CVs. As you saw in some of the clips just a second ago, there are depth charges. You know, once the submarines do surface, there is, you know, they do take damage that way. They have a very small health pool, 8,400 on this one, and it's just, that's a super small HP pool. So if they do mess up once, they're basically dead. So they're kind of like this ninja-esque, super stealthy playstyle. But we never saw how depth charges would be implemented, and that's something I'm a little nervous about too. Is it going to be purely on the destroyer gameplay? Destroyers have so much to worry about with planes and radar and all that kind of stuff. I'm interested in seeing what they do that, but I'm interested in what you guys really think about this class. A fifth class is coming. It's not a potential fifth class. It is coming. It's going to probably be a long time from now before we see anything finalized, but I'm happy that Wargaming is hopefully approaching this the correct way, in that it's going to be slow, methodical, and done correctly. But the class is going to be something interesting. We have seen no real counterplay in the Terror of the Deep. I guess we're not really going to see much counterplay when it comes to a lot of the initial testing, because I assume, and really we can only go off of the Terror of the Deep stuff, which is, it may be completely different. Obviously, there's not going to be a giant monster in the water when it comes to normal play. It'll just be kind of, I guess, boring underwater views. But it may be completely different, and what we see right here is something that, you know, I assume it's a lot of engineering to add all this extra stuff, so I assume they wouldn't just waste it. But we'll hopefully see different types of submarines, bigger chunkier ones, bigger thick boys, and then maybe some smaller stealthier ones. I don't know, but it could add a nice little playstyle. My worry is what class is meant to counter it, right? We have battleships are meant to counter cruisers, destroyers meant to counter battleships. You know, cruisers were kind of supposed to counter both battleships. You know, what's the counter class for this? Is this going to add something that submarines have to deal with, or CVs have to deal with? You know, is it going to make... there's just so many uncertainties that I'm excited to see more information on. We do know the gist of it is it's going to be a very stealthy class, a very fragile class, and probably a pretty hard class to play. I would say probably destroyer on steroids for that. And again, it's, you know, a lot of people are saying, hey, it was a historical class, it should be added into the game. We'll see, but it's now official. They're coming to the game. I'm interested in your guys' feedback. What do you think about submarines, and what do you think about altogether? Are you as optimistic as me with how Wargaming is handling this? I know we'll see some Wargaming law memes and whatnot in the comments, but it's an exciting thing. I mean, really, a lot of people have been asking me on the stream what my thoughts are on this, and there's still so much that we have left to, we just don't know yet. There's so much we just don't know, and I'm really excited to hopefully get some more information, and I'll probably get some next week, and then I'll maybe do another video on this next week with a lot more details. But this is going to be hopefully a long, slow process, and I think it should be done that way. This is going to be a pretty intense class, so it needs to be done correctly. I'm all for them doing stuff if they do it correctly. honestly. It's just, we have a bit of a track record with the CBB work of things, in my opinion, not being done the best. But anyways, want to make a quick little video. I know a lot of people are talking about this, and I wouldn't say there's a lot of misinformation on this. There's just a lot of questions, and there's just so much information we just don't know. So as soon as I know more, you guys will know more, and we'll be talking about this basically every day on stream, twitch.tv/mejash. Come check us out. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.